Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Playing Camp podcast. Because today with us we have an amazing guest, and it resonates so much with what we are doing in Playing Camp. So we met him in Bali and last summer, and I was like, "What do you do? What do I do?" And we were like, "Okay, this is so close to be the same." So in Playing Camp we have this saying of "Live your life as a game," and then I meet Lukas, which is the host of the guest of today. And he goes like, this is what I'm doing. I'm applying gamification. So I help people to gamify their lives so then they can be the heroes of their own lives and they can be upgrading like in different guests. So Lucas is going to explain us so much in depth how he's helping people through these gamification codes. And he's the founder of HoliGamE as well. So he has set up a whole program into helping people to go through these different steps to apply this knowledge that comes from gamification into their own life so they can up level and upgrade. So Lucas, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Carlos, for inviting me. And I was really enjoying kind of like going through Mind Valley together, experiencing Playing Camp in there, and like actually seeing how you can apply this in the real world. And I do agree, we do a lot of things very similar, like just having this playfulness in life and thinking of ourselves like, how can we make this more fun? Because like ultimately, like what are we here to do like if we are not having fun? So that's the whole concept of just enjoying life to the fullest and kind of getting better at that over time and continuously improving.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that in the case of Playing Camp, at least during the experience, is a lot of having fun in the present moment to discover different aspects of yourself. But what I can see from what you're doing is like you have fun while evolving the person that you are. So first, let's start with a bit of your story. Like, how did you arrive to become a gamification coach?
So for me, it started with my education experience. And I was really unsatisfied there because school was just not engaging. And going through these textbooks, it was always very boring. But I was always intrigued by video games. I was just captivated there because it was an immersive experience and I knew what I had to do. There was always a clear quest, and that gave me so much motivation, maybe even a little bit too much. So I spent more times playing games than like actually in school. And then eventually after I graduated, I learned how fun learning can be if it's self-directed, if you are kind of choosing where you can go, what you can learn, and then like seeing the progress over time. So from there, I started to think about how can I make this more like a game, because I loved gaming and I loved seeing this progress. And eventually I thought about like, why can I not just level up in real life? So from there, I started building systems, started to think about how can I think about quests, and Mind Valley was one of the inspirations that really got me hooked on this quest system, where instead of just reading a book or kind of learning a new skill, you actually have a quest. I think like I want to accomplish that, complete that, and I get to break this down into smaller tasks or objectives. And through that, I can see, hey, I'm like 50% there, and this overall helps me with my vision for the future and kind of connecting all these pieces into like a game that I want to play, like a game that I want to play for as long as possible, because that's like the game of life is not really something that you win at, but it feels more like you're winning by continue playing. Kind of like in a relationship, you cannot win a relationship or you cannot win at health. You win by continue being in the relationship, by continue being healthy.
Nice. Love it. And it reminds me to a conversation that I have with a guy. He was a hippie and we were in the beach and he was like, life is not a video game, it's a bio game, like bio game. And it's like, how can we apply this concept? So I love it. I really love it, like how, to start chunking down things and then measure things as well. So what I would ask you is like, okay, let's imagine that one of the listeners is a person that is starting to waking up, is starting to realizing that, okay, this life I don't like, or the school doesn't resonate with me and I want more from life. What would be the first steps that you would help this person with?
So the thing that I start people with is their main quest or the end game that they ultimately want to play. And this is a concept that I copied from Ikigai on generally having this purpose in life, on like where you want to go. Because when we look at these heroes from stories like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, they all have this like big thing they want to accomplish. I think this is what really sets apart people who are just playing life, the 9 to 5, the rat race, kind of like being in this NPC. And like I've been there as well. I was like at a cashier and like working in a kitchen and really felt like I wasn't the main character. I was just doing what I was being told. But as soon as I started to think about my purpose, what I actually want in life, what am I good at, what do I enjoy, like what does the world really need? And combining that into like one thing that I say like, hey, this is like where I want to go and this is what I want to accomplish and this is what I like to work on, then like my whole mindset shifted to being like, oh, okay, like I can do that and I can see the progress over that. And from there, it's just not being like life happening to me, but like life happening from me or for me, because I am the one making the decisions and I am the one working on this bigger purpose and like what I was meant to do.
Nice. And nice, lovely. So it's about starting with the purpose, the direction, which, I mean, in my experience, I'm going to share a bit of how did I arrive to playing camp also, because that's, let's say, my mission or my vision or my purpose. And for me, I mean, no joke. I believe it takes me like 30 years of my life, which is...
Oh, it's a continuous process. Like, I don't think I'm completely there yet, but like, you kind of start with that and like where I want to go. And I don't think you need to have like the perfect vision, but like just get a sense of direction. And from there on, you can say, hey, I kind of want to, like for me, it was like, hey, I kind of want to change education. I wasn't like completely, I want to be a gamification coach, leveling up education and helping heroes level up. That like is a process that kind of evolved over time. In the beginning, it was just like, hey, education sucks. And I know this is a problem and I want to change that. And then from there, your purpose kind of evolves. And I think this is important for your own growth and journey to allow you evolving that. But the big thing that I want people to really take with them is that like you get to choose what you want to do, that you get to decide where you want to go. And like you can choose different paths. And by choosing these different paths, you kind of go in the direction. And you don't always have to be completely right, but just thinking about, can I be directional right?
Yeah. I love it. And it resonates so much. It's like start with the why, the purpose, the direction, and then like choose a problem that is inside and outside as well, no? Like in your case, like you struggle with the education, and I mean, it's obvious that so many people struggle with the education system. So, and from there, then that could be the second step or the next steps. Like, okay, I have something that it pains me or I'm annoyed with, which can be the school system, or in my case was like people are stopping playing in the society. What could be the next step? Like how to start, maybe put this more into material actions or maybe making the vision. I don't know. What could be the next?
So once you kind of know the rough direction that you're going in, over time, this kind of continues to evolve. It's about like thinking about the life that you want to live, the character that you want to become. And this is very similar to the concept of life book, on thinking about like, what is my life? What are the most important areas of my life? And what are kind of the priorities? How do I want to grow? So for me, I kind of like to think of a very fundamental level, like everyone wants to be healthy. Everyone like has to kind of consume content, learn things, and also kind of be peaceful within themselves, like deal with stress, enjoy music to the point, think about who you are yourself as like, what's my identity? What are my habits? What are my beliefs? So this is kind of, I like to think of life as a pyramid, and like these are the fundamental layers. So everyone needs to take care of their body, their mind, their soul. Soul is like something that everyone has to define for themselves. For me, it's something that just relaxes me. So music is often said to be food for the soul, and like where my wisdom and inspiration comes from. And for other people, this may be religion. For other people, This may be just relaxing and going through nature, or just like playing and enjoying. But important is that you get to choose your own areas of life, like, because you are the main character. So what is important for you? And I know we both follow Alex Hermosi. For him, most of his life would just be career, which is totally fine. But the important part is that you get to choose your own areas. And if you say, I just want to focus on my career and my relationship, that's fine. But so many people just go through life like unconscious, without like thinking what they actually want. And this is the next shift after thinking about like, where do you want to go? Thinking about, okay, what is my life actually consisting of, and how are these steps helping me with that? So thinking about a vision for the future for these different areas, and saying like, hey, I'd like to live past 100, and I'd love to kind of have a collection of all my knowledge and writing that down. So thinking about the visions for these different areas and how they connect to this big purpose. But you need to first have like this guiding light, this North Star, this compass in your life. And then from there, you can kind of break this down into smaller habits. Because for me, life is one thing, yes. And like we ultimately go in this one direction, but we can also break it down into smaller areas. And then with these areas, they start supporting each other, right? Because when you're healthy, your relationships are automatically better. And when your relationships are better and you start to network, this can help you with your business. And then with your business, you may be able to afford better food. So it's all this holistic system that supports each other. And thinking about that, how can you have these areas and building blocks that serve you, that you get to choose, that you kind of build the life that you want to live.
Nice. So good. So nice. Then, woo. Okay. Sometimes, because it happens, like I'm in Spain, and what happens sometimes is like people are very afraid of change, or afraid of looking at dark, or it's like in the state of victim, which I agree, and I made a video a couple of days ago about these different levels of consciousness, right? So we have people on the victim, and then to step into the manifestor, I have some ideas of how to make that transition. But let's imagine someone that says like, okay, I don't have time to go to the gym or to do exercise, or I'm always working. But it's obvious that we all have activities that we know we might be better if we don't do them. Like doing what you know is wrong, as Jordan Peterson says, right? So for someone that is stuck in this pattern of, I don't have time for this, or healthy food is too expensive, or just not buying vegetables or whatever, how could be the process of changing their mind from victim to more manifestor, taking ownership of their life?
Yeah, that's actually the next step, because after people think about like these different areas and like how I want to live them from like this aspirational aspect on, ideally I'd like to get there. So this is more specific purpose for each of these areas. It's about execution, like how can you actually make this happen? And there I like to kind of start small, like, okay, what is the next step that you can work on? And here I take the concept of quests. So you say, hey, like what's something that I can change about that right now? So maybe your vision is to live up to like 100 years. Then you can say, okay, what is one thing that I can do right now to make this more likely? So this could be like, hey, at the moment, my diet is really fucked. So I have a quest to change my diet. And there are like many other people, or like I like to call them guides, who can help you along the way. So maybe a guide like Eric Admeets, who is very deep into nutrition on how to eat healthier, can help you. So he literally has a quest called WildFit. So this would be something that you can do to then level up your body and get closer to your vision and helping your ultimate purpose. So thinking about, what are the quests that I want to do? What are the quests that I want to work on? And then breaking these things down, because we kind of went from like the huge big picture on like, what do you want to do? What's your purpose in your life? And then we kind of like keep zooming in and getting more specific to the point where like, okay, I want to like improve my health. Okay, how do I do this? Well, nutrition is something that I can work on. It's like, okay, here's a resource that can help me specifically. and I'd like to start Wildfit. And what are the tasks then associated with that? So for me, the quest is kind of like monthly, yearly things in terms of like planning. So saying like, hey, for this next quarter or for January, I like to fix my nutrition. And then once this is done, you can move on to the next quest. But when we go deeper in the quest, it can be broken down into smaller tasks. And like, hey, I watch one video about this, or I go shopping and buy the right food. And I take the time every evening to actually cook my meals myself. So these are things that you can do like within your day-to-day, within your kind of like, what can you do right now, today? And these are the things that I then put in my calendar. Because once we put things in our calendar, I'm a fan of time blocking, for example. So I can see how I'm spending my time. And this is kind of how we also get back more of our time, because we consciously decide, how do I want to spend this? Because like everyone has the same 24 hours and you get to choose how to spend this time. But the issue of that, like I run into the problem as well. If I don't really know what to do, that's when I kind of end up doom scrolling. That's when I end up wasting time. And then at the end of like an hour or 2 hours of doom scrolling, it's like, why did I do that? Like I know I didn't have to work in that time, but I could have done something that I actually enjoyed, like watch a movie or kind of call a friend. And if we don't think about these things like, okay, how do I choose to spend that time? And like actually seeing that in the calendar and putting that in there. It's like, hey, I know that I have to work from like 9 to 5 because that's where most people start off with. And then I know, okay, well, like in the morning, I'm really motivated. So maybe before I start working, I could do some reading. And then in the evening, I know I'm less motivated and I'm feeling a little bit tired and I'm prone to kind of like go into this doom scrolling. Maybe that's exactly where I need the help of a friend and say, hey, let's go to the gym together to have this additional accountability.
Nice. I love it because especially this concept of, well, time blocking, so important. And for me, distractions also is like a big thing of my character, I believe, like, and how stupid I feel sometimes when, we use social media, like originally, I used to say that, and I shared this idea with my mother. Facebook, I mean, we are a bit, I'm a bit older than you. So I believe Facebook was like a really good platform somehow, because you have a lot of information about the person, like the school, the work, the birthday, or if they are married or not, and what are their likes because of the groups and such. So for the way I understood social media back on the days was like, is like an agenda of a lot of people. And the TikTokification of social media has become like an attention sucker, really. Like sometimes I'm like, why I'm watching this girl in bikini that I have like zero idea if I met her or not at some point in my life, and it's here the first because the picture is like sexually appealing, and obviously it's the first thing that throws at me, at least. And I'm like, the fuck? And what you said is like, you spend 20, 30, 1 hour, whatever, and it's like, I could have invested this time into strengthening my relationship with a real human that cares for me, instead of doom scrolling like. So definitely this is something in the area of relationships or friendships, to block time to spend with people. And that's one of the things of the Plain Camp, like go out of your home and go out of your screen and spend time with real people. And I love the concept of accountability as well. And so I'm looking at your Instagram here, and you have like all these charts with all these colors. So I would like, because this might feel a bit overwhelming for some people. So if a person finds you and says like, okay, let's fix my life, but suddenly like, holy crap, I need to do all these things, all these areas, all this stuff. How could you simplify, or how could you reduce or focus within, I need to fix my own life, I have to do so many things in so many directions?
So like the simplest part, or the one thing that I want to kind of help people, and of course like you can go as deep as you want within this game of life concept, is like just make your own decisions. Like, get out of this NPC concept, the rat race, the 9 to 5, where you're being told what to do and you're living someone else's life, and just start making your own decisions. Think about, like, how do I want to choose how to spend my time? Like, who do I want to spend this time with? And kind of helping people understand that, like, it is all your choice. Like, the situation that you're currently in, you created for yourself. And maybe this creation process happened subconsciously on autopilot because, society kind of programs us, and like the social media algorithm also programs us. It kind of hits these very primitive aspects of our brain to think about, like, the Labrador brain, or the things like, okay, food and sex and survival. And these are the things that, like, are in everyone, and it's very hard to get out of that. So I like to, there's a very interesting concept from Tim Urban, who thinks about, like, the story of us humans. And we all have this primitive side of us that is just reacting based on, like, just reacting to, like, our environment. And then we have the higher mind, who thinks more about rational, like, okay, does this actually make sense? Am I being, like, manipulated by social media? Do I actually want to do that? And kind of questioning, are we on the right path? And is this how we want to spend our time? So to, like, really put it super simply, the one message that I want people to understand is, like, you can choose the life that you want to live. And for that, there are, like, many things that you can work on. But, like, that's the key message, the thing that people understand is, like, you are the hero of your own story. You get to choose how you want to play.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, because it comes from what it's important for me, or what do I care about. And also I saw this thing, and I think it's a lovely exercise, the one of choosing your model, so your reference for different areas. So how does that work?
So this was a concept that I got early into with reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And the concept that he talks about there is these invisible counselors, the people that kind of inspire you to become the person that you want to be. Because there is the concept of the average 5 people that you spend the most time with, that's you. So, like, you can choose to have these people also, like, generally be people you want to be like, not like in your close environment that you know, but you can say, hey, I really like this Vishen Lakhiani guy because he built his own business. So I like to be more like him. So that's why I put him as my guide for, like, spirituality, because I think his thoughts on spirituality, because, like, I'm a little bit more rational, but he kind of puts some science behind that. So with the guides, I like to think about these are my areas of life that I want to live in, and who are the people that I want to be like in that, who can guide me along the journey. Because we've been thinking about the vision for the future, where I want to go, and then, like, who are the people who can help me get there? Because, like, when I'm the hero, then there are certain guides that can help me along my journey. So my journey towards living to 100, Eric is helping me guide to stay healthy along that way. And Vision, for example, is my guide to be, like, my spiritual self and kind of evolve through that. And then Alexa Mosi is my guide to financial freedom. So these are the people that I like to model myself after. And for me, it's kind of this, like, an actual council meeting. And that's what Napoleon Hill created. And, like, just imagine these people that you want to be like, that you want to be inspired of, and have conversations with them. And for me, this was a very abstract thing to, like, imagine them and, like, thinking about them in my dreams. So I created just a picture with all the people that inspired me. And for me, that's, like, isn't just, like, real people in real life, but also fictional people. So for example, I love Gandalf, because he's just, like, so dedicated to his quest. And I think, like, this guy is following his purpose. Like, he literally died for, like, the thing he wanted to do, and kind of came back. And Dumbledore is my guide for like the mind on like helping others educate and teach and kind of gather this knowledge. So it's this inspiration that I can follow and I can model myself after. So this is how I like to build my character and have, because it's very difficult to really build the life that we want to live because we just don't really know that yet. But something that I find much easier is to look at people and like all of us just have like an intuitive impulse and like I vibe with this person and I really find them inspiring. So like, why not just follow these people? And this is what I also do on social media. I mostly just follow my guides because I want to kind of expose myself to their ideas, to their concepts, to their frameworks, to learn from them. And for me, it's kind of building this character because I think my life consists of 10 areas. So for each of these areas, I have the people that I think I can learn from. And these are kind of the best teachers and thought leaders that I've come across. And over time, there's of course updates. And sometimes I'm saying like, hey, I really liked like Alex Hermosi for business. And before I had, I think you actually worked with him. The guy who did the Superhuman podcast. It was, yeah, exactly. So he was like my first guide for finance because I love the concept of selling with love and being authentic with that. So it's like, damn, like I want to learn more from him. And then like this kind of like switches and it's like, oh, like now I'm learning from this person. And just being reminded by these people, by seeing them. For example, like they are currently my background screen on my computer. So every time I open my PC, it feels like I am almost having a conversation with them and they hold me accountable to become the version that I want to be. Because like when, for example, I'm eating junk food and I see Eric at me, it's looking at me, I'm like, bro, like, do you really need to eat this? I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe you're right. And it just helps me stay on track because we're not always our best self. We sometimes like, there are moments in our life where we struggle, where we feel down, where we feel unmotivated. And then having these people in our lives to kind of like remind us of our greatness, remind us of who we were meant to be or who we can be, was super helpful for me to kind of like continue to level up and think about continuously refining on who I wanted to be.
It's so good. Like I really want to reflect on this because I studied psychology of religion, so I specialize on all these aspects of religion and spirituality. And I'm not sure how familiar are you with Jordan Peters.
Oh, I'm like, he's my guide for emotions.
Nice. So Jordan Peterson, his background is on psychology and then more like clinical psychology, but it's like a mix of Carl Jung and Itzel. And he knows a lot about religion. So I'm thinking about a polytheistic religion with several gods. Because it's just, I mean, I find it so similar. Like you are, instead of receiving a god from society, like, the goddess of the earth and the agriculture, the god of war on Greek or Roman empires. And that's the point of the spirit of war and the spirit of anger and fighting is into you, and that's the praying or the ceremonies. Like I'm getting this spirit into myself, and that's why I'm going to war and I'm going to fight because of Mars.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing from you is like you are creating your own religion of people, which are ideas, are archetypes of that thing that you want to embody.
That's a very interesting thought. I haven't thought of it like that specifically, but it makes a lot of sense. And I always thought of like religion as like, I don't want to follow just this dogma, but there are certain aspects that I like about that. And for example, with John Peterson, I love his like psychology side and how he talks about different personalities. And I want to learn more from that. But I don't necessarily vibe with his political agenda. So I'm just kind of removing that part and just say, hey, he is my guide for emotions, for personalities, for kind of, because the big five is very much into like, how neurotic are you? How much positive emotions are you feeling? And understanding other people through that and my own emotions. So I'm saying Jordan is great for that. I want to get the spirit of that from him, but not everything. So similar with religion, like I was raised Christian, and I like think like not to kill, and there are like a bunch of really smart ideas about Christianity, but there are also some things missing or some things that I disagree with, and that's what I look for Buddhism with, or kind of like all these different concepts, and just taking the things that work for me, that I see like, hey, I like this part and this part and this part, and then kind of creating my own life with that. So I really like kind of, you mentioned these archetypes, and that really fits well with like, I haven't thought of it, so I like that concept on really creating your own religion, your own life, because like what you value the most is essentially the God. So for me, it's like my God is kind of the future version that I want to become, and that is the kind of collective of these people that I follow. So that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. And I love it because that's the narrative on religion. Like religion or God is like the direction towards a higher good, or a higher or the perfect being, which I want to remark also the importance of the archetype and the idea, which is something that Peterson mentioned, quoting Young, like ideas have people. Like people don't have ideas, ideas have people. And that's the point. Like when you are possessed by these ideas, these directions, this guidance, is very clear the moral behavior. Like, Alex Hormoz is always like behavior. But it's like, brother, when you have an idea, when you have a value, the behavior becomes easy, or at least to know what's the behavior to be taken, what's the action to be taken. And then also I want you to develop a bit on this, because there is this sentence that say like, never meet your idols, and never meet your gods in this case, because gods become human with this type of advisors, right? And I have had different encounters with some of the people that used to be my quote-unquote gods or archetypes or guides. So what would you say? Like, never meet your idols.
I think this only applies if they're kind of like stuck. And I think this is what my problem with religion is like, this is like how it has to be. And since I say like, hey, I'm like, I can choose my own life, and I can choose my own heroes and my own gods in that way. If someone is like, I'm not vibing with them anymore, I can always kind of switch them out. So when so far, like everyone that I've met, I'm like, I was very happy about like how they interacted. Like I loved talking with Eric during Mind Valley University. And so a lot of people kind of, and you also kind of understand them because you've been following them for so long. And something that people said a lot about Vision, that during MVU, he was kind of cold and distant. But like he is organizing this event. So like every problem is his problem in that. So of course he isn't as warm and welcoming as he would be in like a social chill setting. And I still remember the after party that he was at, and like we had a very nice chat because he was like in a relaxed setting, and it was like everything was over, and it was like, yeah, it was a great event. And like that's where we kind of connected. And I think like always keeping in mind that like, hey, if someone is like completely not vibing with you, you can kind of like switch them out and find someone better. And for me, this is a continuous process on really thinking about like, who do I want to follow in that moment? And if someone is kind of throwing me off or sending a weird vibe, then I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to look for someone new to follow in that way. And then maybe I find someone, or maybe I don't, and like it kind of like readjusts again. So to go back to like the thing that you said originally, I like so far I've made like really good experience on meeting my idols and kind of learning from them, talking to them, and I'd love to get them on my own podcast eventually. So that's kind of my goal with that as well. But it shouldn't be like something permanent. So it's like a fluidity that you can say, you can continuously change that. So it should never be like stuck and this is the only way it can be, but saying like, hey, I'm like open and I'm kind of receiving what I need to receive in that moment.
I love it. And I want to reflect on It's a bit like a video game. So then we can come back to the gamification and the HoliGamE. It's like when you gain the skill, like or the armor or the weapon or whatever. Like I mean, in this case, it's like you fight this big monster, you gain the skill, and then you level up your character. So maybe that's the fluidity. And here I can refer to there is a sociologist called Bauman that speaks about the fluidity of society and relationships, and also the fluidity of the self. So in our culture, in Western culture, influenced by monotheistic religion, there is like a perfect, solid, abstract concept that never changes, which comes from Plato, from the world of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So like, but the reality seems to be way different with the Buddhism. Like there is no self. It's always something that is being affected by so many factors, so many people, and something that is mutating. That's why I love Taoism so much. So, the moment we put words, so we put intellectual ideas into something, we are already limiting the reality of it.
Yes.
So then what I want to ask you about is like, okay, it seems like this hero is a never-ending process of upgrading the idols, upgrading the behaviors. So what is the other side is like, what is the enjoyment in someone that's never finished?
In the beginning, I was talking about this infinite game, and like, what is the game that I can play for as long as possible? And I think that's why it's important to think about, like, what's the big thing? And for me, being a hero is mostly about helping others, because in the end, we are just like, to the point, like, we can always grow more, and like, that's never something that we'll achieve. And that's why, like, enjoying the things, the journey, and thinking about like, yes, of course, I do want to go there and I want to achieve all these things and I want to become better. But like, I also gotta enjoy the journey and celebrate my victories, because with this level process that I'm thinking, like these quests that I complete and the tasks that I complete, like they all contribute towards these levels. And for me, it's like these set celebrations that I have like on a monthly basis. And I think as a hero, or like when you really think about yourself as a hero, the hero's journey becomes so important. So writing that down, what are my highlights, feeling gratitude about like your day, your week, and then kind of zooming out on that and saying like, okay, and maybe I'm going a little bit crazy there with the systematization, but I really like to zoom out. Like, so we have the days and then zoom out to the years and kind of like just see how our life has gone in our journey and all these celebrations along the way, as well as having the celebrations on saying like, I leveled up. And for me, this is always like a big event where I say, for example, for level 11, I went to Barcelona, I went to a music festival, and I was like just loving and enjoying that moment. And then for level 12, I got with my girlfriend together and we kind of like spent a lot of time together and really experienced this deep, meaningful relationship. So thinking about like your life not as like, I'm this amount of years old and like celebrating the years and then the months, but also kind of celebrating your growth over time. So this way, I think it helps me personally enjoy the journey and the process, because I don't have to associate as like, I need to complete this and I need to be like a millionaire by 30. But it's more like, who am I becoming in the process? And just celebrating that like I'm making progress. And every time I just do something, I complete a task, I know it contributes towards my level increasing. And then eventually, after collecting enough points, I level up. And this way I have like these celebrations for the level and my progress, as well as the celebrations for the moments, and like having a daily reflection practice, thinking about what were my highlights of this month, what did I learn, feeling gratitude about that. So for me, like this celebration part is a very big thing, and thinking about like not only where I want to be, but like how can I celebrate. And in Germany, we have this concept called a Bergfest, which means you celebrate when you're at the top of the mountain. So technically, you're just halfway there because you still have to go down. But if you continue to go like, okay, so I'm at top of the mountain, let's go to the next one, let's go to the next one. you never really stop and appreciate the view. So for me, these celebrations force me to stop and think about, oh, I completed like these 3 quests on my month, and then I have like a picture for them, and I can see like all the quests that I completed over the year, and then I can see like, hey, this is all the things that I completed for level 12, and this really shows me my past journey and shows me what I have accomplished, and like I really feel good, because like there's so many moments in life where we don't feel like we're making any progress, where we feel stuck. But this is the time where we can like look back at these reflections, these celebrations, like, oh, like today may be a bad day, but like in the grander scheme of things, like I am continuously working, I'm growing, and like I am living the life, like I'm living the dream life that I was thinking 3 years ago. Like I am living that right now. And even though I may have like bigger aspirations and bigger goals and things that I want to accomplish, this helps me to like remember where I once was and feel grateful where I am right now.
It's so good, Lukas. Really, like I'm listening to you, and I'm applying. I mean, intellectually or in my mind, I'm applying some of these things. Like, shit, Carlos, I have to do so much of this. Like, it's so intelligent, And even this, coming back to religion briefly, is like Sundays are for resting, like
yeah.
And that's why narratives like Alex Hormozzi, sometimes he's like work on weekends and everything. But I think that's so important. The factor of scheduling and committing to celebrate things in daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. Because, and doing it consciously. It's not like I'm going out with my friends on the weekend and getting drunk. It's like, is this a celebration? And even because I was listening to David Goggins with Andrew Huberman these days, which also I think is a very powerful narrative. But, David Goggins is all about the stick, the punishment. And in playing camp,
I don't vibe with that at all. Like, it's just...
Yeah. It's true, but, I'm in my own process of what do I vibe with, and I find truth and value in
there is some truth in there. I agree.
And for me, but still is like, it's useful, but it's like leveraging the stick and the carrot, and their cognitive reframing of something like journaling is like, instead of taking daily journaling as the task that I have to do or the habit that I have committed and I need to put effort, is like, why don't I, in my case, why don't I change the framework of journaling as the moment of celebration of what I did today, and put my positive emotions into the paper from a place of gratitude and learning and growing. And it's like, I mean, I need to play with this, but it should be easy, or easier at least, because it's like, no, this is not something that I have to do. This is something that I choose to do because I truly enjoy. And maybe to make this true is like, just take 2 minutes of no distractions to tap into the emotion of enjoyment, and doing it from a place of enjoyment. And I believe this is Thich Nhat Hanh, this guy of meditation. It's like, the more you activate the neural paths, the more these paths apply to other areas and activities in life as well. So reframing all these tasks as celebration, I believe is a really good cognitive workaround. Nice. It's so good. I love it. And there is something that I wanted to mention. There is also Dan Coe. Dan Coe mentions there is only 2 ways of being. You are happy by doing, or you are happy by being. There is that thing of come back to the being and enjoy the being in that moment. And I have a couple of things that I want to cover with you. So one of the things is like, I saw that you organized during the summer an event with the people in my valley. Some of them had like blue t-shirts, some of them red t-shirts. So what was that?
So it kind of like started with me always wanting to celebrate in the summer my birthday, because like my birthday is in the winter, and like it's very difficult to do that here in Germany, because like I love being outside. I love kind of like playing around, and that's why I always had like my birthday in the summer. And for me, at some point in my life, it shifted from like celebrating from like just getting drunk, because in Germany there's a very strong drinking culture, and eventually I noticed like that's not who I want to be anymore, because like I know a lot of people like vibe with being drunk, and like they become more sociable and more friendly, and that's all good and fine if you kind of consume alcohol in like the right frequency and like the right volume. But for me, it was just not like who I wanted to be. So I thought about how can I turn these celebrations or these parties where everyone is getting drunk into something more like that first vibes with me, but like I wanted other people to have fun as well. So I started to think about these different games that we can play, and this evolved into the Holy Games, because it's kind of like this whole day experience where we all get together and we play these games that you usually only play like during school, like dodgeball or like kind of chasing each other and running after each other. So every year I'm kind of doing it a little bit differently. So last year I had 2 different teams competing with each other across different games. So these games were like playing, like started with like chess and doing yoga, but we also had a capture the flag where people could select their weapons, and over time, like one of the ways that I like to exercise is just getting like staffs and bows and just playing around with that. And over time, I have like gathered a collection of those. So I figured I wanted to create something like playing paintball, but more in a medieval way. So that's why I have like these plastic swords and these like children's bows that you can hit and shoot each other without it being like painful, without people like hurting themselves. But like the concept of like of kind of competing with each other around an objective and trying to like hit each other with dodgeballs and arrows and like swords, and kind of like thinking about because how do I say this without it being super weird? Like I think war would be fun if people wouldn't die or hurt themselves. Like the concept on like the strategic thinking of like just like, because in a way like all sport events came from hunting or came from like war and how it used to be, and then it evolved into like machine guns and stuff like that, which kind of took that away. But like we like these superhero movies because like people fight in that, but like we don't really fight ourselves anymore. We kind of fight with Excel sheets, but that isn't the same. We don't have like this release of adrenaline. So what I wanted to create is being outside, kind of like playing around in a safe environment, having like an objective to defend or attack, and kind of like just thinking about like different teams and competing in a friendly way. So everyone is kind of like super riled up, like everyone is in a deep state of flow and thinking about like how can I build barricades to make this more difficult for the enemy team to like cross over, and like thinking about the strategy. And then like the reason why I started this is eventually I'd like to turn this into an augmented reality game where like you actually like are able to like use magic and like throw like actual these things around, because we have these glasses that augment our vision. So that, but like this is so long in the future, like 5-10 years maybe. That's like, why not start this already? So I kind of like got these plastic swords and these children's bows and these dodgeballs, and start to think about how can we compete in a friendly way and like just having fun, and then kind of connecting that with like a scoring system, because like that's what I just enjoy. And every year I usually take this another step further. So it's like and like always I have like a prize to kind of win, because like people generally want to motivate that. And the first time the prize was like cutting my hair. So like people got me like a monk's cut, and I had to walk around with that like for a week. And like the last time the prize was a Quest 2, which is a virtual reality headset. And like everyone is kind of like thinking about like how can we win this, but I wanted to make sure that it's not like this just competition, but the focus is more on collaboration as well. So that's why I had these team aspects, and you had to do well within your team while still winning. So you wouldn't win by just having the most amount of points or scores, but you also had to make sure that your team was performing well. So this way, I created a system where you get to play and compete, but people who are not as competitive still have fun because they're part of this team spirit. But the people who are extremely competitive still had to think collaboratively as well, because they needed to ensure that the whole team wins and everyone is playing together.
I think it's brilliant, Lucas, seriously, because it reminds me a lot. I used to be a scout, and one of the games we organized was like Little Wars, Guerrilla, and it was that, like, 2 mountains. I mean, it was like a valley. In the valley, then used to be a village. One team is in one mountain, the other team is on the other mountain, and we had a system of tagging each other with chalks and stuff like that. And it was like the whole day and night, and it was like a catch the flag style type of thing, like
capture the flag, like something like that. So
yeah,
it's so fun.
And it's brilliant because I agree with you. Like, hunting, war, and competition is something so deep into human beings as well. And I mean, psychologically speaking, is I'm building an environment with people that are supporting and at the same time is like collaborative and competitive. So I truly need to put my brain into work or on empathy, social skills, and it's both. It's like empathy for the other guys that are trying to attack me, how they are trying to attack me, and what they are not thinking about that I'm thinking about to try to attack them. So it's these different levels and meta levels of cognition and empathy. And the same with my team. Like, how can I protect my team, collaborate with my team and everything? And resources is so human. And I agree with you. The negative part of it is if I have to kill another being, and this can be a rabbit or can be a human. Like, it's something that is not aligned with my soul or with my good parts of my being, at least in the society that we are building. But at the same time, it could be like throwing the bath with the baby. Like the baby is this whole activation and activity of my physical and cognitive and even spiritual skills without the negative part of harming other beings. So to close, where people can find more about you, how people can work with you, what is the process that you guide people through, and how to reach you out.
Yeah, so I'm mostly active on Instagram. That's where my main focus is. I'm more sporadically on other social medias, but like Instagram is always something that I'm doing, and that's where I share my story. That's where I share my quests. That's where I share like my story on like my game of life and how other people can learn from the lessons that I'm learning, since like been playing this game for like 3 years now. And when you're getting started with that, there are a lot of things that I can help you with, like creating systems that hold you accountable, or making sure that you feel a sense of balance across your different areas, and making sure that you actually feel like the hero of your own story, because there are many frameworks and models that can help you along the way that are just kind of like things that I feel like should have been taught in school, but just weren't, because school focuses on different things. So if you are unsatisfied with your education and you'd like to be more prepared for life and think about how can you get better over time, can you play this infinite game that you kind of create for yourself and want to play for as long as possible, then I can help you in one-on-one coaching. I also have a Hero Academy, which is more of a course that you go through. And in general, I just want you to like take this one message that you are the hero of your own story, and you get to make these decisions, and you get to play the game of life how you want to play. You just have to choose.
Yeah, and I love it really, because I'm checking this Notion template that you have created, and I think it's brilliant. So for everyone that is listening, go to Instagram, at HoliGamE, right?
Yeah, HoliGamE.
And there is a link on the bio with the Notion template, so you can download the template and you can start applying this concept. And reach out to Luca. Really, he's amazing. And as you have heard, he's doing I mean, HoliGame is like holiday. It's like a holiday of games, and I love the concept so much. So guys, go there, HoliGame. You will find so many useful resources, Lucas guides. You can reach out to him. You can speak with him. It's an amazing project and company, and I really wish we do more in-depth collaboration. And I'm not so much into the whole digital virtual reality, but I see the value of it, and I love the idea as well of doing something that is combined or merged. And
Yeah, I think it's all about alignment, like trying to find the way that that works for you, and ultimately we all get to choose. So also appreciate you so much for building this playing camp, inviting me here. It's like being in there, like just playing around, being in nature. And I think this is what it's all about: having fun, going outside, connecting with other people. And because life is not a single player game, it's a multiplayer game. And I think this is what you're doing exactly with Playing Camp on, bringing people together and playing together.
Totally. So just to catch up a bit of what we went through is how Lucas transformed his pain and his unsatisfaction with the school system into developing an alternative education around gaming and growing, and how to apply the concept of video games and your own hero to your own life. So now you become your own hero, and then you develop the different steps, like you have a vision for your life, and you have a different system, and how to start applying this into more daily habits and quests, coming from what do I care, what do I really value. So then everyone has a choice of building a life that is meaningful for them. And I love the whole concept of the HoliGames as well, like how to bring people together and to apply both collaborative and competition. And very important, the guides or the gods or these idols that are going to help us to move towards the direction and the life that we want to build. And I always like to finish up with a couple of questions which are connected with our inner child. So Lucas, if you had your inner child in front of you, what could you tell him?
I think the thing that I would need to hear as a child is that video games are not bad, but you also need to level up in real life. So you can continue to play these games and kind of think about these stories and be immersed in that, but don't forget to level up in real life, because this is ultimately the longest game that you're going to play, and making sure that you are continuing to grow there along with your virtual character is kind of a key thing that will help you throughout your whole life.
Nice. And now, what could your inner child tell you?
My inner child would probably tell me to not take myself too serious, to kind of think about to actually enjoy, because there are moments in life where we are stressing, where we are thinking about how is this going to work? But I think inner me would just be happy playing around. And as long as I can still enjoy myself and kind of go outside and shoot with a bow and arrow and have these projects that I'm excited about besides work, then I'll just live a happier life. So it's not just about work. And even though I try to align everything, I still need to think about how can I just think of new things. Recently I started archery, and this is one of the greatest joys for me, to just be outside again and shooting the target. And it's not directly connected to anything that I do with HoliGame, but I kind of disregarded these aspects a little bit too much. And so my inner child will probably say hey, do more of that, things that are just fun and not necessarily always connected to this big vision, but sometimes you just got to do the things that you enjoy in that moment.
Yeah, I love it, Lucas. Is there any final words that you want to share with the listeners today?
Yeah, repetition is key. So I'm gonna make the point one last time. Wake up, you are playing a game and you can choose how to play that. So make sure that you play the game that you want to play.
Boom. I love it, Lucas. Thank you so much again for being here with us today, this amazing conversation. And get ready because we will build something together. Like now, I'm like in this super spark of motivation. Yeah, give us some time, guys. And soon enough, you will have some HoliGamE playing camp proposal for all of you. Much love. Thank you very much for listening and see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.